This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 466 of the Stable Scoop Show. Please support our sponsors as they make this show possible. Our sponsors this week are horselovers.com and another podcast, That Newport Show. In this episode, Coach Jen and I get together and we have an amazing guest. Well, okay, a fascinating guest because that is the theme of this year's Stable Scoop. Fascinating stories. Our fascinating person with a fascinating story is Billy King Beebe. Yes, that is of the Misty of Chincoteague fame, the Beebe family. So we're going to talk to Billy King Beebe about all of that history and what's happening these days. There is something called the Beebe Ranch in existence. So I'm personally very interested to see what's going on there. We also have Carolyn Culbertson. She's going to do a little promo for Heels Down Happy Hour. She's going to tell us about that new podcast on the Horse Radio Network. And finally, we have Tack and Habit. And we're going to talk to Misty West, and she's going to review some breeches for us. All that in this episode. Listen in. You're listening to the Stable Scoop Radio Show, where hosts Glenn and Helena guide you through some of the horse world's most fascinating stories. Owning and loving horses means there's always a story to tell. It may be funny, exciting, or inspiring, but it will almost always be fascinating. Join us for The Scoop each week as we tap into the stories that are woven into everything we do, at the barn, at home, and everywhere in between.
And this is Coach Jen, and you're listening to the Stable Scoop Show on the Horse Radio Network.
Hi, Jen. It's good to have you back on the show.
Hi, Helena.
It's fun to do something. It's fun to do something different every now and again on the network.
Something. We won't say that to Glenn.
Yes,
Glenn's
we
different
will.
every single day, let me tell you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, I like to mix up the hosts. You know, on Horses in the Morning and on Horse Tip Daily, you have a lot of hosts going through there. So lots of different guests. Usually it's just me and Glenn, Glenn and me and Glenn. It's fun to have you on.
But you just never know what you guys are going to put, you know. Yeah, it's kind of like a chestnut thoroughbred mare. You just never know.
Yeah, or in my case, a red roan appy who decides he doesn't want to work this summer.
Just never know.
Can I give you the latest on my horse?
Yeah, the latest, now that he has his appetite back.
He has his appetite back. He has his on-the-ground personality back, but he still doesn't want to work. He's still really, really lazy under saddle. So not quite sure what's happening with him. I think it's behavioral because when I increase the intensity of my aids to the point where it feels like I'm beating him into the ground, he responds beautifully. He literally responds perfectly. But I have to have just the grossest, harshest aids. So there's one other thing that makes me think it might be something, a bug or something in his body. And that is when I free lunge him out in the field, he's a bit stiffer in his hocks than I've ever seen him before. Now he's 17 and a half, so he's going to have some stiffness. He has a little bit of arthritis. But really for Brody, I mean, up until a few months ago, he's shown no signs of any hock stiffness.
No, he's always been very limber.
Yeah, always very limber back there. So I noticed just a little less engagement in the hocks than usual. And he trips in front quite a bit. But when you have a lazy horse who's hot and tired and doesn't want to work, he tends to be lazy in front.
Mm-hmm.
So he's catching his front feet with his hind a lot more than usual. He has shoes on. He has since April. So this doesn't change whether he's got shoes on or it hasn't. I can't say that shoes are an issue. So we have a big question mark.
There you go. The big question mark. See,
Yeah.
An easy way to check his hocks is just do flex tests on his hocks. Just get somebody out there who can trot him away and do that. Because if they're genuinely sore, he should test positive for that. So that's kind of a quick and dirty way to figure that part out.
Yep.
Another thing you might be dealing with too is he spent the springtime in training. He went up north to get fit. And you might just be dealing with a horse that went through what, from his point of view, at least, intensive training. Brody decided a long time ago he wants to be a trail horse for a living. And he just got dull from it. And nothing more complicated than that. Kind of like you have that old couple and she gripes at him all the time, or he gripes at her all the time. Let's not be prejudiced here, Jen. And after they've been together for 30 years, one just doesn't even hear the other because it's there all the time and it's just ignore it. And he could have just gotten really dull from going through that process versus previously he kind of got fitted up very slowly over a very long period of time because springtime comes very slowly in New England.
Yes.
So that could be a factor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Changing up what he's actually doing when you're riding him in a radical way might help that.
Okay.
Do stuff when you riding him or ground lining him or lunging him or whatever you want to do. Do stuff that's totally out of the ordinary. Totally out of the ordinary. It's like, wow, we've never tried anything like this before. And see if, do that like for 2 weeks straight where every single day it's something completely different, regardless of whether or not he's good at it, as long as it's completely different. And then switch it back to some more familiar patterns and see if that changes him.
Yep. Okay. I will try everything.
Yeah. Just try. Yeah, I have done that with horses, and if it's in their head in that they become dull to the aids, not so much physically. Yes, they tend to ignore the aid, but it's really a mental game. And it can freshen them up partly because they're getting different aids because it's way different stuff we've never done before.
Yeah.
But it also gets them thinking, do things that make them think, like the ground pole exercises that they do with Linda Tellington Jones' T-touch method. They put those little mazes on the ground, that kind of stuff. Just crazy, weird crap. Make stuff up. Throw spaghetti at the wall.
We do that pretty regularly because I'm aware of of not letting him get into a schooling rut. Our problem is going way, way down to even walking during warm up.
Well, don't warm up. Don't warm up. Just get on him and tell him to trot. Completely different. Something you never do.
Oh.
Just get on his back, take him out in the paddock and say trot.
Yeah.
And then when he does, immediately say, oh, walk, have a cookie. Or pat him on the neck or whatever it is you do. And then just completely change everything you think is right about how to ride him.
Mix it up. Just get him paying attention again.
Just make him think, well, wait a minute, we never do that. Wait a minute, we never do that.
I'm going to try this. Okay. I'll try it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Give it a, what
so
do you got
the two
to lose,
things,
right?
The two things I'm going to do. Well, he just got new shoes. He just got his shoes reset or replaced yesterday. So I'm going to hop on him later today and see what we have. See if new shoes made a difference. If they haven't, or later on, I'll do a little hawk test. I can flex and then Grace can trot him out. And we'll see what we have there.
Yep.
And then we'll try mixing up his, literally just walking out of the barnyard and right into a trot.
Yeah, walk out of the barnyard, trot straight across your schooling field to the end on the buckle. Just right from the gate and see what he does. He might go, wait, this is fun. Or he might just buck and so hold on tight.
I know.
Yeah, there we go. But we could kind of gab on and on with that with this for like the next 3 days. But I think we need to get to our first guest.
Our first guest, yes, timing. Our first guest is Billy King Beebe of Misty Heaven, and we're going to talk to, I don't know if it's Billy King or Billy. We'll find out about what's happening at the old Beebe Ranch, and
I can't wait.
What's happened since the days of Misty and Stormy. So let's bring on Billy. Well, hi, Billy, and welcome to the Stable Scoop Radio Show.
Jen, hi.
We have, Jen and I both have a big place in our hearts for the Misty and Stormy stories, Misty of Chincoteague. And this is really what your family is all about. I mean, you are a member of the family who brought Stormy and Misty to the world at large. tell us about the Beebe family and how you are related to this entire story.
Yes, Grandmom and Grandpa Beebe, Paula and Maureen, that are in the story. Paul and Maureen are my first cousins. Their father is Uncle Harold Beebe, and then my father is their uncle, Ralph Beebe. And Grandma and Grandpa Beebe were my grandparents, and I was raised here on Beebe Ranch. We moved here when I was 4 years old. So that's how I'm related to Paul and Maureen and to Grandma and Grandpa Beebe. And the first two stories take place, Misty of Chincoteague and Sea Star, Orphan of Chincoteague, with Grandma and Grandpa Beebe and Paul and Maureen.
So Sea Star was my first exposure to Marguerite Henry's books. I read them out of order, but
Shame
I
on
remember.
you.
I know. Well, I didn't know. A friend had given me this book, Sea Star, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to read this. And of course, I then fell in love and needed to know the entire story of the Chincoteague ponies. So did you guys know, or did you know Marguerite Henry? How did Marguerite get connected with the family to pen this story?
Well, she heard about the roundup in 1946. So she actually came to Chincoteague looking to find, a story to write about. And actually, when she met my grandfather and grandmother and saw Paul and Maureen, how they would round up the wild ponies and they would, help Grandpa sell them during pony penning, she just fell in love with that type of story. And she asked them if she could write about them. So that was the beginning of the Misty of Chincoteague, which is a very famous book still today. And then, as you know, you read Sea Star, Orphan of Chincoteague. She came back looking for another story, and what inspired Mrs. Henry on the second story, Sea Star, was a little lone colt standing over his mother after his mother had passed away in the wild. And so Paul and Maureen actually got Sea Star, of course, and tried to have it nursed with another mare. And the Sea Star book is written about my uncle Clarence Lee Beebe, who went to the University of Richmond. And then, of course, 1962, Stormy, Misty's Foal came out. Well, actually, that happened to my father, Ralph and Jeanette Beebe. At that time, actually, everyone had passed away except Maureen Beebe. And we had Misty here from 1957 on up until she passed away. But we had a terrible storm. And in 1962, it was called a nor'easter.
And you know those well.
The flood came. And the flood came. We had, at that time, 97 wild ponies. Here at the stables on Beebe Ranch, on my father's part, we had 10, one of which was Misty, ready to give birth at any time. When we woke up, the water was about 3 foot in her stall.
Ah!
We rescued the ponies. We rescued the ponies and put them in the hay house. We call it a hay house because we stored about 200 bales of hay in there for the wild ponies and the 10 riding ponies we had on the ranch. We put Misty in our kitchen, and a helicopter landed because we couldn't get off the island to rescue us. So me, my mother and father, and Lee and Denny, who are my brothers, were rescued, and the Stormy story was born.
Oh my gosh, that just brought me right back to the entire story. I can just.
Why is this not made into 14 more movies? This is just awesome.
I know.
So I gotta ask.
I know.
I gotta ask, Billy.
Well,
whose idea was it to put the pony in the kitchen?
My father's.
Dad's idea. Okay.
And my mother was hollering because she just bought a picnic table, but it was a kitchen table made out of 2-inch knotty pine. And she goes, "Oh my gracious, the horse is going to crib or null on it, of course, and it would ruin her picnic table. My father said, if the tide comes up anymore, we won't have a home. And she started crying.
Oh, no.
So, yeah. So, when we ran to the helicopter, actually, I was, they tried to restrain me. I was about 9.5. I have to look out the window. And it was devastating to see the island underwater. And I saw my cousins, maybe 2 streets down, with a white sheet on top of their house, trying to flag down the helicopter, which we were full. So it is a true story about my family, but they used Paul and Maureen, Grandma and Grandpa Beebe's, and kept it as a sequel. And a lot of people said, well, why didn't she update the Beebe family? Well, I want to talk about tragedies. Maureen, she lost her mother. Paul and Maureen lost her mother in a single car accident, and that's why they came to live with Grandma and Grandpa Beebe on the ranch. Because my uncle, the father, Uncle Harold Beebe, was a tugboat captain, and of course he was always on the water, and that was no life for little kids.
Yeah.
And of course, the other tragedy, Maureen we lost Paul Beebe in an automobile accident in 1957. He just was on furlough or leave from the Marine Corps, and one of his buddies bought a brand new car, and they wanted to see how fast it went, and they both lost their lives in a single car accident. And then Maureen gets married, has 2 little girls. Their names are Zebe Zay and Renee Ray Hirsch.
Oh
They're actually named after Maureen's naming of the ponies that she had on the ranch. And she lost her husband in a single car accident when they were only about 3 and 5. So she moves back to Chincoteague, and Maureen is still living today, and she's about 81 years old.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Now, growing up, Billy, the books by Marguerite Henry, based on all these true events, were you guys growing up aware of how famous your family's ponies were, and how famous Grandma and Grandpa Beebe were? Or was that just part of everyday life?
Actually, I've been asked that question many a times, and it was everyday life for me. So it wasn't unusual that people would knock on our door and ask if they could see Misty. And we'd have the Misty family here. Misty's first baby was Phantom Wings, and that made Life magazine back in the early 60s. And Marguerite Henry came here looking for a story, and at that time, Ram McNally was the publisher and had a contest in naming the baby, and 2 twins from South Dakota won $1,000 to their library for picking Phantom Wings.
Oh,
and
wow.
of course, the Phantom is the mother or the dam, and the Pied Piper is the father or the sire. But Wings is the father of Misty's baby. So they just kind of put that together. And he also, the little colt, it was a male, had little wing patches in white on him. So it was a perfect name.
Now, how many babies did Misty of Chincoteague have total?
She only had 3 babies, Phantom Wings. The second was Little Wisp, which was a mare. And then Stormy, of course. And lots of people sent us letters and actually money to help with the damages that we obtained on the ranch. They would staple dollar bills in their envelopes.
Oh,
and my
goodness.
mother still, we kept them today. It's only a few, but it's so cute how the little kids would, support us back then.
Her second foal left the island and went on to be a show horse, did she not?
The second one, Little Wisp.
Yeah.
Now, there's a controversy on that, and not many people know, but my mother named her Little Wisp. If you find a book written by Marguerite Henry, the pictorial book of Misty, she wanted to be Wispo Miss, but my mother, that's the only little argument I think they've had.
Names
of the name of the second one.
So you
It was cloudy. I think thinking of a grandson of Misty. Actually, they trained it to do tricks. And years ago, I think it was Ed Clark on Chincoteague had Cloudy, and he would show the horse and do different tricks.
Okay. So now Cloudy was a Palomino.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
What made you decide you created a museum out of the farm, and that was the one on Ridge Road. What prompted you or inspired you to turn the ranch into a museum and kind of keep the history alive and going for people?
I think it comes back to when I say little, say I was probably 7 to a teenager. I would always help my mother with the tourists out in the stable area, and we'd have dozens of pictures on the wall, and I would watch her give the story of Misty, and I just copied her when I was younger, because she would say, as a teenager, you can go out there, you can give the tour. And I think it was just a love of seeing the people enjoy Misty. Actually, when she was alive, I remember a family coming from Japan. They read it in their own language, because it was written at that time in about 7 or 8 different languages. I've even had, when I opened up the museum in 2000, and I ran it for 10 years until I had orders to go to Afghanistan, and that's when I shut down the museum, because that was devastating to the family. I had to go off overseas, and I was in the National Guard at that time. I was the oldest one over there. I was 57, and I turned 58 in country, but got back. And what has happened is the Chincoteague Museum actually came here and said, Billy, we'll take all your stuff, take it from the house, catalog it. We'll take Misty and Stormy while you're gone and put them on display in the Chincoteague Museum, and that's on Maddox Boulevard. And I said, well, wow, great, because I had no idea what to do, because my family was saying, it's just too much trying to run the museum. You're gone. And at that time, I lived in Newport News, Virginia. So they are actually, Misty and Stormy are on display at the Chincoteague Museum on Maddox Boulevard here in Chincoteague today. And they are open Tuesday through Sundays from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m.
How are they displayed?
My father had the foresight of when she died of old age, she was 26 years old, that he had her mounted, and the taxidermist came, and at that time they had to make a mold of her. So just as soon as she passed, they made a mold of her, and then years and years later, Stormy passed away at the age of 31 or 32. She lived a long time.
Yeah.
My mother's decided to have her stuff, but of course the space age plastic came out, and you could order a mold the same size of a horse, and she is mounted and displayed at the Chincoteague Museum.
That is fascinating, and probably the best part of this conversation, that you can actually go and see what this horse looked like. Like, you can really get a sense of being in her presence. Jen, we have to go.
I know. Well, see, I need to revisit. We went on vacation several times when we were little kids to Chincoteague and Assateague Islands, and of course, I was over the moon happy, having read all of Marguerite's books, that I could meet all of Misty's relatives down there. But at the time we went, the museum wasn't there then. So now I have to make a return trip and go see it. So tell us more about the museum. Where exactly is it? When is it open? And what else can we see there besides Misty and Stormy?
Well, the museum is, like I say, is on Maddox Boulevard in Chincoteague. It's called the Chincoteague Museum, and it's actually the last Yeah, well, it's the museum just before you get to the Chincoteague Bridge, because you can go over Chincoteague and see the wild ponies there that the Volunteer Fire Company has over there. And they are open from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tuesday through Sunday. Also, my daughter moved back here. She lives next door, and I have two Misty descendants. And Misty had Stormy. Stormy had Wendy. Wendy had Night Miss. Night Miss had Angel. So I have Angel here. I bred her about 2 years ago. We have a yearling now, and we call her Drizzle. And she's 1 year old here on the ranch.
You're gonna run out. You're gonna run out of weather pretty soon. You know.
I know. So we opened up the ranch on Fridays and Saturdays just for the month of July and August.
So summer vacation time.
So people can come see them. Mm-hmm.
Now, they're still doing the pony roundups. Do you still attend?
Yes. I love when I say attend, at that, I always go and watch it along the road. And I still enjoy that. So I do that. And people say, did you participate in the roundup? Well, not really, because the same time the roundup was going on, my grandfather and then my father, we'd round up over, we had 97 wild ponies, and other people that were, had 10 or 15 wild ponies, they would be in the herd, and we would sell about 50 babies during pony pinning. So I never got to participate in the roundup there, but I participated rounding them up on the Beebe Ranch.
Awesome. Well, there's more about the history of Misty of Chincoteague online. Tell us where our listeners can find out more, and they can. There are Briars of Misty families. There's a Chincoteague pony drill team. There's all kinds of really cool stuff that can inspire folks to actually make the trek down and visit the museum. Tell us where they can find out more about that.
Well, on Facebook, my daughter has set up Beebe Ranch, and she puts actual pictures of Drizzle and some of the Misty descendants. Also, I saw this year they came out with a calendar. A lady done some research. They got all of Misty's family in there, or descendants. She has researched, Kelly Littard has researched, and there's over 200 Misty descendants. I didn't realize it was that many. Well, that was great. Yeah, you can find it on social media just by, looking up different things that you put Misty in, and it will pop up on social media.
Excellent. All right. And we'll be sure to post links to that at stablescoop.com for those listeners who can't remember. Thank you very much, Billy, for joining us and getting us up to date on all that's happening with the Beebe family and the legacy of Misty.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Jen.
And now we welcome Caroline Culbertson, and she's with the Heels Down Happy Hour podcast, the newest show on the Horse Radio Network. Hi, Caroline. Welcome to Stable Scoop.
Hi, Helena. Thanks for having me.
So Glenn was like, "Oh, have you heard about Heels Down Happy Hour?" I was like, "No. What is this? It sounds like something I should be involved in." He said, "No, Helena, this is something you just need to listen to and enjoy." What is Heels Down Happy Hour?
Sure. So Heels Down Happy Hour is, like you said, a brand new podcast that's going to be released twice a month. And it is an offshoot of our magazine, Heels Down Magazine. And we got together with one of our journalists, Justine Griffin, who's a co-host of mine, and then also 4-star event rider, Jessica Payne, who's also married to fellow 4-star event rider, Doug Payne. And so those are my co-hosts, and it's 3 girls talking about what's going on in the horse world, and just kind of chatting over drinks and talking about current events and news and rule changes that everyone is confused about, and just things that are happening, sort of current events. And we do some riding tips and educational sessions as well about horse care. We're going to be unpacking interviews with riders. So it's all sorts of things. There's something for everybody. And we joke that it's the it's the opposite of horses in the morning. So you can kind of wake up with horses in the morning and then unwind with an adult beverage at happy hour. So we're really excited about it.
I'm guessing the tone will be a little bit more casual.
It's pretty boisterous.
It's the voice for horse people.
It is not. If you
Or the
are
chew.
thinking
I want the chew. It's the chew for horse people.
Yeah,
That's the one.
exactly.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. It's not NPR delivering news like this. And next, we're gonna hear from my co-host. Like we are just wild and say it's very, the filters come off the longer the show goes on because we're drinking while we're recording. So it's a really, really fun show, and my co-hosts are amazing. And yeah, everybody should tune in. Again, it's twice a month. It's going to be released, I believe, the second and last Friday of each month is what we're shooting for. And there's one episode out now. So everyone can go to the Horse Radio Network and check that out, or it's also on our website, heelsdownmag.com.
Tell us a little bit about Heels Down Magazine. How long has it been around? Who publishes it? And what disciplines do you cover?
Sure. So we cover the Olympic disciplines. We cover dressage, show jumping, and eventing. And we are a digital magazine. So it's a little bit of a new thing for people that are used to print magazines. We are in your pocket, literally. We're on your phone or your iPad. So whatever mobile device you're using, you can download the magazine. It's once monthly. And once you download it, it's on your phone. You don't need internet to access it. So we've got videos and audio, and it's very interactive. We even have like interactive like buttons that you can click on that do fun things. It's very, very cool and very technically user friendly, but also very interactive. And as far as what we kind of like to sort of sprinkle a bunch of different things in there. So we have some fun articles that are kind of lighthearted. And then we have lots of interviews with very big riders and riding tips, horse care tips. We have a professional groom that contributes every month. We have a lawyer that contributes every month to sort of give, unpack things like quarantine, how to get your horse through quarantine or how to import a horse. So there's lots of different things, and there's something for everybody in there as well. And again, so that's once monthly.
Cool. Jen, have you had a chance to check out Heels Down?
I get to check out Heels Down because sometimes I get to produce the show. So I get to check it out for real.
It sounds really fun. I mean, I like the fact that it's an in your pocket kind of publication because, let's face it, our phones go with us everywhere. It's our source for news, for entertainment, for information, and for communication. So that's the best part about it is you see or hear something on Heels Down Magazine and you can click over to your friend. Like you can instantly share that or connect with somebody else. And like for me, when I hear a piece of information, especially important horsey information, I'm like, oh my God, I have to remember this. And, 2 or 3 things happen and my day goes on. And the next thing you know,
it's gone forever.
It's gone.
Yes.
So it's nice that you can package, the most important information in your life, horse information, into this, the podcast now, as well as the magazine.
Yeah. And it's sort of the same. We try to really bring an approachable sort of tone to our news and the podcast as well. So in our first episode, which is out and everyone can go listen to now, we talk about sort of the controversy with Depot, because there's a lot of gray area with that. And so especially for, people that have like a non-horsey significant other or family, and you don't get to talk to like somebody that understands what the heck you're talking about, this is perfect for you. It's like 3 girls just chatting about, chatting in a normal, the way that you would, sit around with friends at happy hour, chat about horse news and sort of what the hell all this stuff means, what is Depot and like, why is it banned and what's going on? And people are really upset. So it's very frank conversations about all of those topics. There is not much bull if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's a whole nother industry. That's a whole nother industry. Well, I'm personally looking forward to listening to this. I'm a fan, and I haven't even heard my first episode yet. We will have links to the Heels Down Happy Hour podcast at horseradionetwork.com, or you can find it. You can find episodes at heelsdownmag.com. Am I right?
That's right, heelsdownmag.com. Yep.
Great. Well, thanks very much for joining us. It was really a pleasure. I can't wait to get that first episode downloaded to my phone.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me on, you guys.
Up next, my favorite part of Stable Scoop, it's the Tack and Habit segment. This week's Tack and Habit is sponsored by horselovers.com, and our reviewer is Misty West. Hi, Misty. Welcome to Stable Scoop.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You're reviewing a pair of breeches today, and I'm excited because I get excited about everything we review. But seriously, I kind of have a breeches thing. I really do. I have, because there's so many.
Totally be excited about these breeches. I'm telling you, I'm excited about these breeches.
I've had some really good luck. I don't know why I continue to be surprised, but every time I try a pair of Ovation breeches, I'm like, why didn't I do this earlier? So,
yeah, everything in the Ovation line, honestly, I can tell you several years ago, my daughter is a pony clubber, really wanted to get out of those, those turtle troxel shaped helmet things that they used to have. And that was my first experience. I purchased an Ovation helmet at our local tack store. And I have always been pleasantly surprised with not only the quality, but the price point of like the Ovation brand. And these breeches you have to have. If you don't have them already, you have to get them.
Okay. So it's the Ovation Aqua X breech, and they're lightweight, so they're good for warm weather, warm climates, summer schooling, right? They're knee packs.
Yeah. And the nice thing too is that we have typically pretty wet summers here in Western Pennsylvania, and I've gotten wet a few times riding, and they're the first thing to dry. That's one of the fantastic things about the fabric that they're made of. They're lightweight, they're cool, and they dry really quickly when they do get damp.
That's nice. Yeah, it's the worst.
Yeah.
I mean, I live by the ocean too, and it's always humid here. And so even if you ride at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning before the sun comes up, there's always a layer of mist that you kind of have to ride. And I don't know about you, but sometimes you wear your breeches all day, but for those of us who don't have corporate jobs, I tend to leave my breeches on because, I don't know, I'm buzzing here and there. It's nice to know they dry quickly.
Right. All right. And these are they're a nice finish. Like, you're not embarrassed to wear these anywhere, I have some breeches I wouldn't wear to town, but these I kind of look for a reason.
How are they to get on and off? Because sometimes they're pull-ons, right? So, or are they zip up?
Actually, they are zip up. They're zip up with they are a technical fabric, but they have a zipper and one of the clasp type buttons. They're not like a button with a hole. There's maybe one slight criticism I have. It would be the only one for these breeches. Like, when I zip them at the top, and maybe I just need to do more crunches, but there's a little bit of a twist at the top where the zipper doesn't quite maybe come all the way up to the very tippy top of the breech.
I know exactly what you're talking about. And it makes a little pucker gap.
Yeah, that little pucker gap at the top. That's maybe my only criticism. And I tried with a belt to see, it didn't really help it, but it's not really noticeable. It doesn't really bother me. I just that would maybe be my only criticism for it. I literally love everything else about these breeches. I'm so happy about these breeches.
What is it?
I know you hunt and I hunt as well. My only wish is that they came in like a tan or a canary that I could wear hunting.
Oh, they don't come in tan?
Well, it's not a khaki. No. Well, it's not a khaki. Let's see. Charcoal and neutral beige.
Oh, okay. So it's something in the tan family.
Yeah, they have Yeah, they do have a neutral beige. Yeah.
It's a lighter. It's lighter than what I would hunt in because it would be dirty by the time the hounds were cast.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they might be good for coving or something, but yeah, exactly. So,
how did you like the silicone knee patch?
The only time I kind of thought, well, I'm never going to use this, right? Because it's just a knee patch, and I try really hard not to grip with my knees. But my daughter and I did a 100 pace a few weeks ago, and we were kind of galloping downhill, as you go, and they came in really handy at that time.
Okay.
Grab on. So the silicone is my first experience with anything this technical or having anything this high tech, and I love the silicone. You don't notice it's there. I would definitely consider after these some silicone full seats that I see, people wearing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We change our habits. It just takes us 12 or 15 years.
Right.
Yeah. This is also my first experience with the sock bottom, so that you don't have the Velcro or anything like that. Like the bottom is like the stretchy material.
Yeah.
I love it. I don't think I'll ever go back after having these breeches. There's nothing it's so easy to get my boots on. There's nothing, kind of digging into the outside of my calf when I ride or anything. I'll never go back after these. My daughter has several pair of these, really nice sock bottom type of newer breeches, but most of the things in my breech family are older. They have the Velcro bottom or something, and the only thing I don't, I have the carrots tights and things that don't have, the Velcro tabs, but they have like kind of that ring at the bottom. But these Ovation breeches are just smooth and so comfortable around my, they're higher than my ankles, but that area under my boot.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'7", and maybe these are a little. I wish they came in a tall. At least when I first looked, they were just a regular length. That being said, though, I'm not particularly tall. I just like my breeches a little longer. Okay. But the rise is perfect, and they don't when I bend down, nothing inappropriate shows, which is nice.
Yeah, especially when you're a mom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, can you imagine? My daughter would probably die.
I know.
So the whole world. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, these are. I can't say enough good things about these breeches. Honestly, I just love them. They're so comfortable.
It sounds like a good deal at $117 from horselovers.com. So it's the Ovation Ladies Aqua X knee patch breech. Thanks, Misty, for giving us such a detailed and thorough review. I'm going to go out and get myself a new pair of breeches now.
Yeah, you'll love them. You've got to get them. You will love these breeches. I'm telling you. And at that price point, I'm a little bit maybe on the cheap side sometimes, but after trying these, I would definitely buy another pair.
Worth it then.
Definitely. They're worth it.
Well, thanks again, Misty. I hope to have you back again sometime soon.
Great. Thank you so much, Helena. Nice to speak with you.
So we opened the show with an update about Brody. Give us the quick and dirty on Nigel.
Oh, let's see. The quick and dirty on Nigel. The farrier will be coming out in 8 days to put on his super special, and I'm pretty sure expensive shoes, so that we can get things rolling along there and make him a little bit more comfortable in his little front feeties. Other than that, he is doing fine. I've discovered this is my second summer with him. I got him in March, so we went through that summer, but it's been a little toasty. My horse can sweat like nobody's business.
Really?
Scooter's out there cool as a cucumber. It's 90 some odd degrees, and he's like, I got this. He'll hang out in the shade and eat grass. Nigel seems to think that grass in the sunshine tastes better than grass in the shade. So that's where he stands. And the sweat just drips off that horse, which is good, I guess. Better than the other problem.
Yeah, trying to cool himself. Exactly. Does he drink a lot of water? Does he replace his fluids?
For the most part. Now, sometimes I catch him and he's a little bit light in the hydration department. So I do keep a really close eye on him, especially if he has to stay in the barn extra, which means he's not getting his grass. He's getting hay instead, and that's always a problem. because that grass has so much more moisture in it. So I have found that I am a little hyper vigilant about how much water he is or isn't drinking. So he gets his electrolytes in his feed, and that seems to do the trick. Today, for the first time, I gave him a horse popsicle.
Oh, you did? Did he love it?
No. He licked it a few times and, well, that's dumb. I can't get to it. He's just going to let it sit there on the floor and melt and then eat the carrots is what he's going to do. Yeah.
Oh my God. It's just like kids. You can buy them all the fancy toys you want, but as soon as they see a pot or a cardboard box, they're all over it.
They're all over it. So we're just melting our way through summer in anticipation of autumn and fox hunting season. That's what we're doing.
You know what? Well, see, here in Little Compton, where it hasn't gone over 79 degrees,
Ugh.
it's been quite the perfect summer here. It's been cool and breezy, and it's been great for riding. It's just too bad my horse is a little sluggish. I think we need a secret trip to the beach when no one's around.
That'll get him going again. That's it. Go to the beach.
Yeah, that's when I have to put the emergency brakes bit on him.
Yes.
My horse goes from 0 to 90. There's no in between.
There you go. I'm trying to find a place to take Nigel in the water, which you would think that's easy here in Florida, where it's the land of lakes, ponds, and swamps. But trying to find one that is guaranteed to not have gators is a little tough.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Well, keep us up to date on that, because that's what I'm always interested in. How do you guys deal with the water situation down there and the gators?
Well, as long as you're not swimming around in natural bodies of water, you're pretty much fine.
Okay. So then, you know what? Here, I have a business idea. A horsey pool park.
A pool park.
A pool park, right? I'm told, Jen, this is, okay, if my new job completely falls apart, that's what I'm doing. I'm convincing Buck and Grace to move to Florida, and I'm going to open up an action park for horses.
That would be awesome. An action park. Oh,
yeah,
you could have the lazy river ride.
Yeah. And then a little pool, a wading pool where they can, walk in, and the bottom will be like rubber traction, rubber mats with those little nubbies on them so they don't slip.
There you go.
Right? They can bob for apples.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They can have a wave pool.
They can have a wave. We can surf our horses in.
That's right. I love it. Get
All
the
right.
schematics ready.
All right. Somebody we need investors. So if you're out there listening, this is my new idea.
Gosh, Shark Tank, here we come.
All right. And on that note, we're going to wrap another episode of Stable Scoop. For details about today's show, go to stablescoop.com. And don't forget, you can get the HRN app on your iOS or your Android phone. Just search for Horse Radio Network in the App Store. It's free and very easy to use. Be sure to log on next Friday for another episode of Stable Scoop. Goodness only knows what we'll have on deck, but there'll be something. And we do love your feedback. I particularly love your feedback. The private Facebook messages and emails that you send me make my day. They either have me giggling or laughing or crying or pounding my fist in solidarity. Keep it coming. Many thanks to this week's sponsors, horselovers.com and That Newport Show. Don't forget to visit all the great shows on the Horse Radio Network. You can find them, of course, at horseradionetwork.com. Whew, we're done.
That's enough.
And thank you very much to Coach Jen for filling in for Glenn today. It's always a pleasure to have you. That's it, listeners. There'll be more next week. Until then, happy scooping.